Well, um, good afternoon, good day. Welcome to episode 4 of my podcast, A Place in the Rain. And I'm actually in my home in Ireland now, in Waterford. It's a few weeks since I made the last one, and a lot has happened. Firstly, I moved to Ireland. I actually came over for a couple of weeks to decorate this house a little bit, and then I went back and loaded up a van to bring all my rubbish to Ireland. I actually took some rubbish back to England to throw away because you don't have to pay in it, but you have to pay for disposed rubbish in Ireland. Anyway, so I'd like to tell you about customs and excise, which actually took me by surprise. I wasn't expecting this to happen. I think I was a bit naive in not expecting it to happen. Because all the information was freely available. I just, for some reason, thought it didn't apply to me. And in fact, I met somebody on the boat and talked to them, and they had the same feeling. It didn't apply to them. When you move to another country, you think, well, you just load your stuff up and you drive. Especially when there's a common travel area, such as within the EU, or the common travel area that exists between the UK and Ireland, has done since the Treaty of 1921. So you just get up and you go. And in terms of actual, right of abode, yes, that's what you do. You get up and go. What about the stuff you bring with you? What about your car? What about your computer? What about the sort of vast amount of detritus that you collected over the last 60 odd years? Well, it turns out that in theory, these are effectively imports into the country, and therefore subject possibly to duty. Now, you might have thought, well, EU, Brexit, blah, blah, blah. It turns out that while both Ireland and the UK were in the EU, it was relatively simple to move stuff from one place to another. And then Brexit happened. And you thought, yeah, but surely that just affects cows being brought over the border or fish. No, it affects truckloads of junk. So anyway, I got on a ferry with this big truck loaded with junk and got off at the Port of Rosslare, which is a very efficient, smooth port. And all the vans seemed to be diverted to who asked me some questions. I mean, I said it's a rental van, I'm not bringing the van in. And what about the stuff inside? I said, well, it's just junk. So it doesn't matter. It's still, still importing goods into Ireland. What you need to do is go to the customs office, which is outside the port. It's about a mile from the port. Now, the thing I need to stress is that firstly, the job of customs is to collect tax, not to impinge on your lifestyle or anything like that, modify your behaviour. They are part of the revenue service of the government. They raise tax, so the government has money to run. That's their primary purpose. They also protect the border from contraband, such as drugs, weapons, noxious things, toys that hurt children, etc., etc. So those are their two duties. And they are actually quite helpful. They're not unpleasant. They are, they're keen to sort of, push you through as quickly as possible, keen to, obviously, that you comply. And in the case of my wagon load of junk, I just had so much sympathy with them, thinking of all this paperwork they would have to do to deal with a wagon load of junk, most of which I have subsequently disposed of, because the apartment was big enough to take a lot of it. So, what's the key phrase? Well, it's called TOR, transfer of residence. When the UK left the EU, the British and Irish government got together and said there's going to be a lot of Irish people living in England who will be inconvenienced by this because they might want to move back to Ireland, to their ancestral home. Now, I'm not moving back to Ireland, but I'm an Irish citizen and my family's from Ireland. So they made an exception for people transferring their residence from Britain to Ireland on a permanent basis, or relatively permanent basis. And that was me. And in fact, it was the guy behind me as well, as it happened. So I arrived at Rosslare Customs Office completely bewildered, while this very nice lady explained to me what was going on, and I had to fill in this huge form and provide all this evidence. I had to provide evidence of where I'd left the house, that I had a house that I'd left and that I'd disposed of it. I mean, I had a contract from a estate agent to rent it, and I had to prove I had a new place to go to, which is the place I'm sitting in now, which I bought. I had to prove, I just showed a bank statement to show that I had been living in England, sort of just day-to-day expenses and a bank statement. I had to show utility bills from the old place and the new place. Rule number one, when you move to a new place, get a gas bill or electric bill immediately. That is your priority. No matter how you do it, get a utility bill. Forget about your passport, forget about anything else. The utility bill is the keys to the kingdom. So there's a whole load of other things I had to provide, and all sorts of stuff to do with the car. I mean, I had this old junk car, which I wasn't planning to really hold on to for very long, but you can buy cars in England, and if there were no customs duties, you could sell them in Ireland for a lot more than you bought them for. You could buy them in Wales and stick them on it cost 200 quid to take it over on the ferry, and then sell it in Ireland. And if you're dealing with like a €30,000 Mercedes, you can make like 10 grand or whatever it is. So there are rules in place where you have to pay duty. It's called VRT, Vehicle Registration Tax. So I turned up in a UK registered car, thinking I could fill in some forms that it would become an Irish registered car. Well, I could kind of do that. The process is as follows. If you want to, you can fill out a form with all the details of your car. You send it to the Vehicle Registration Authority in Dublin. They then give you a quote for how much tax you have to pay in order to register it in Ireland. VRT. If you accept that quote, you then submit your car to a NCT, National Car Test, which is like the MOT. If your car passes the NCT, then and you pay the tax, and you buy a number plate, and etc., blah blah blah, you can change your English car to an Irish car. Now, of course, you paid some tax on it. I don't know how much tax my car will have taken, because the car itself is worth £500 in England. Yeah. It's got an MOT until, for 6 months I went here. Now, transfer of residence, filling in all these forms, means that I'm exempt from any duties on things I import. But you have to itemise all the things that you import. And they're quite kind of, they want a lot of detail about the car. Not because of £500 cars, but because of £50,000 cars that come through the same port with people trying to evade tax. Their job is to collect tax. So I'm just a nuisance, I'm just a fly in the ointment. But I still had to fill in all the same forms, And they were very helpful, and not only that, but they were quite kind of amenable in that if I came up with something that looked like the right form, looked like the right piece of evidence, it was plausible, they weren't quibbling. Yeah, yeah, that'll do. Now, if I had a £50,000 car, they might have quibbled a little bit. I mean, I had a lot of trouble proving how much I bought it for. I bought it for £1,850 6 years ago. And I had a lot of trouble proving that because at the time it never occurred to me that 6 years later I'd need to produce an itemized receipt for it. But I managed to find something. And lo and behold, they accepted it. Now, when I came back over with my car, I'd made 5 trips between Waterford and where I live north of London, and I was completely exhausted, and I was constantly submitting these pieces. They didn't mind the fact that it was piecemeal submission of paper, and they were very patient with me, but I was just so tired. Oh God, I've got to find this piece, I've got to find this. And it wasn't kind of obvious where to find some of the stuff. So it took me about a week after I finally moved here before I finished and that was about a month ago, and I'm still waiting to hear back from customs how much duty I need to pay or not. And in the meantime, I'll be driving around my car on an English plate, so I'm paying English tax, English insurance, and obviously I'm not paying any Irish road tax or Irish insurance. My insurance company, they do cover you driving in Ireland, but I think it's a limited time. I don't think they're very happy about it. So I thought, well, what do I do? I went to a garage and showed them my car, and they went through it and they said, if you spend €2,000 on it, it'll be worth €2,000. And you need to find somebody who's prepared to do an awful lot of welding because it's riddled with rust. So I thought the easiest thing is to buy another car. The biggest problem I had was the fact that I couldn't park on the street because you need a parking permit for Waterford Council. And you can only get a parking permit at Waterford Council on an Irish plated car once you have the registration document, as well as other documents proving A, gas bill, B, that you own the house, etc., etc., a whole load of things. So I had to buy an Irish car, and eventually I found a fairly amenable one, and the guy I bought it from was very nice and he was very helpful, and so I got a basically very similar car to what I'd been with. I still got the other car. I'm about to try and dump it, dump it legally. I'll sell it to somebody, scrap it, whatever. But I was just waiting forever for these things to come in the post. So I'm paying €5 a day to park while waiting for some piece of paper to arrive in the post. Anyway, this morning it did. Yeah, hooray! I immediately paid the car tax on it because I parked it off-road, and I immediately applied for a parking permit, and I immediately then went and drove it and parked it outside my front door. And the old one, the English one, is now parked off-road in a free car park on the outskirts of the city. So transfer of residence, that is the key thing. Transfer of residence covers you from any customs problems once you've filled in all these forms. And it is designed to save you paying customs duties on goods that you import. But blimey, if you haven't got anything of any value, like me, this computer I'm working on is about the most valuable thing I own, apart from the car and the house and the rest of it. And I had no idea. I was so naive. I just thought you upped sticks and went, and that was it. So I am hoping that sometime in the before I die, I get a letter back from the customs or the VRT or whoever it is up there in the great cloud of Irish bureaucracy, And I eventually discover that what I have to do to keep my English car in Ireland, but I'm actually going to sell it for scrap. At the moment I've got somebody interested in a stock car racer who's just going to trash it, and it'll never hit the road in Ireland again. But I need to sign it over to somebody so I can stop paying tax, stop paying road tax, stop paying insurance, and because at the moment I'm paying it twice. So this is another cost. It's cost a lot of money to move to Ireland, and a lot of it is dead money like this. Some of it is not dead money. Like I've invested quite a lot of money in improving this flat. But I will talk to you later about my initial experience with tradesmen, which has been very mixed. If I'd have moved to an area closer to where my family are from, it would have been a lot easier because they would know people. I mean, just phone them up and plan a contract. I'm 2 hours drive away, so I haven't got the access to the local contacts. And this whole concept of local contacts, I mean, my wife has mentioned this to me. You need to have local contacts. We are completely sort of unknown here, don't know anybody, and the first thing you notice is just how hard it is to get somebody to come and do some work. So that's another problem that's come up, which I'll deal with in episode 4, so that'll be episode 5. Anyway, I had a good day today because I got my parking permit, and I'm so kind of brutalised and abused by the bureaucracy that has really made my week. It's made my month. I'm just so happy to be able to park my car outside the front door. You cannot believe the joy that not having to go back and forth, topping up car park tickets just to stop myself having to, I was paying €30 a week effectively to park not outside my door, and it's just dead money. That's all over. I'm so overjoyed. Anyway, top of the evening to you, and I'll talk to you again soon.